Okay, could I ask trustees to take their seats, please? While that's happening, I need to tell trustees that, and senior administration, that the microphone system's not working. And so we're sharing mics tonight, and I don't know, what's your name? Mark? Yeah, okay, so Mark's going to turn your mic on and turn your mic off. But our request to speak system is indeed working, so you're going to push your buttons just the same as you always did, but you're going to have to share microphones, and Mark's in charge of when you get to speak and when he cuts you off. So, I'm kidding. All right, so we're ready, and I apologize for the late start. Busy. Call the meeting to order and ask you to stand with us for the national anthem.
We would like to acknowledge
that we are here today
on the traditional territory
of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation.
Nous tenons à reconnaître que
nous sommes sur le territoire traditionnel
des Mississaugas de la
Première Nation de New Credit.
Please be seated. So I have regrets this evening from Vice Chair Nurse, and Vice Chair, our Trustee DeKroob is expected at the public meeting here, and so when she arrives, and there she is. So she will take her seat. So I have a couple of additions to the agenda. I have a late request to delegate from Mr. Iliamati regarding equity at the board, and that's 7.3. And 10.2 are the recommendations of the Physical Planning and Building Committee of June 4th. I do not have any other additions. Are there any from trustees? Seeing none, then Trustee Singh, will you move the agenda as amended? Seconded by Trustee Green. All those in favor? Carried. Just gonna rearrange myself here. That's better. Oops. Okay, so we do have a special presentation this evening, and I'm pleased to be able to speak about our student trustees this evening, Carolyn Marr and Kushpal Pawar. They have been our trustees representing students for the last year, 2017, 2018, and they have a one-year term, and I think both of these individuals are going on to post-secondary, at least hoping to. I'm sure you are. But the student trustees are extremely important in this board, and in fact, that's why we have two. We consider it's a big job. It's a responsible job, and they really bring the voice of students to our board table. And in this particular case, Carolyn and Kush have really demonstrated that to us. I think on most occasions, you have expressed your opinions, and I know those opinions represent your peers. And so we really do appreciate, and in fact, we want to encourage more and more student voice. After all, that is what we're here for, is to serve students, and who better to tell us how best to do that than students themselves. Carolyn Marr is a trustee from the South. She also has gotten herself involved in provincial work, as has Kush participated, but Carolyn is the vice president of the public boards at OSTA, which is the Ontario Student Trustee Association. And that, of course, is a provincial level. You also, I noticed, have involvement in Global Vision, and you're a great skier, right? So, well, you're an instructor, so you must, we always think that you must know how to ski pretty well. So all of those things, though, you notice have a common thread, and that is about students and teaching and coaching and trying to improve conditions for students. So Carolyn, we very much appreciated you being on this board this year, and we wish you, I know we have one more meeting, and hopefully you will be here, but if not, we want to make sure that we wish you all the best in the coming year. Kush Powell is also a trustee from, student trustee from the North, and I know that he's been extremely busy, not just as a student trustee, but just as a student in general, advocating and representing students. The RAA is an important organization that you participate and have some leadership duties in that. You're the communication officer, correct? Yes? Okay. And of course, mock trials, very important to Kush. And we very much appreciate the leadership in that. And if people don't know what a mock trial is, each year our students prepare to go to the courthouse on a program that's sponsored by our lawyer association, or the court association with lawyers. And they actually argue a case. They take on different roles, and they argue a case in front of judges. And judges adjudicate, and they decide who wins that. So it's a very exciting and I think instructional project that all of our students, we usually have a lot of participation in it, and we very much appreciate that opportunity. So, and again, Kush, I know that I think you're moving on to post-secondary, and we're happy to hear your plans, your and Carolyn plans. But from the board perspective, we very much appreciate the work that you've put in here. And we have enjoyed the input. And I say that, I know I said that to Carolyn, but I think you've been extremely active student trustees, and you've raised that bar just a little bit higher. It seems that each year our student trustees raise the bar a little higher, and I think you've exceeded that as well. So you've left some big shoes to fill for the incoming trustees, and we will be as supportive as possible with them. So congratulations. I have just a little token of our appreciation for your work, maybe a remembrance of it as you move forward. And so on behalf of the trustees, thank you. You can do it later, you can do it now. Want to do it now? So student trustees, if you would turn on their microphones, please. You have to share tonight, people.
Thank you. So thank you so much to the Board of Trustees and to Director Joshua and all of the superintendents and staff that have supported both Cushpaul and myself throughout this year. It's been a huge learning curve, but we are so grateful for this opportunity, and we've had a lot of fun doing it. We've been backed by some pretty incredible people. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insight, and for always helping us learn more and helping us learn how we can do more for our students. I recognize that we are students, but we have learned, again, so much from all of you and everyone here at the board. So thank you so much for always encouraging us to learn and to be brave, and we'll carry those sort of those characteristics with us for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
That's great. Where are you going?
I'm going to Queen's University for a Bachelor of Commerce.
Excellent. Good luck.
So I think Carolyn's pretty much said it all. It's been a very humbling experience. As she said, it's been great to work with all of you and know all of you. We've been able to learn a lot. We've had a lot of experiences together, and it's been an absolutely amazing time just representing students and putting their concerns forward, whether it be the financial stuff that we've talked about, the financial transparency, whether it be promoting arts and extracurriculars. It's really been a phenomenal experience. The students have been very supportive, and so have all of you. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all, the superintendents, the trustees, everyone in communications, and everyone that attends our meetings for being so supportive and being a part of this journey. Thank you.
And where are you going, Cushpaul?
I'm going to University of Toronto, Mississauga for political science.
Very good. Okay. Can you run on Thursday by any chance? For political office, if you're going for political. I said, can you run on Thursday, because you might win. Anyway, thanks very much. Okay, if we can move on then, declaration, are there any conflict of interest? Declaration of conflict of interest? Seeing none, then we'll move to 3, which are minutes. So 3.2 are the instructional program curriculum committee minutes of May 16th. 3.3 is the regular meeting of the board, May 22nd. That's for receipt and approval. Trustee Cameron, will you put them on the floor?
I will.
Thank you. And Trustee Crocker, will you second that? Any, hang on here. So, Trustee K. McDonald. Thank you. Through your chair. Yeah, I don't know, but I can hear you, but it's not your regular one, so.
Hello?
Okay, sorry. Through your chair, on page 24, regarding the motion, are we raising the price flag? It said, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, line 6, shared her opinion that the flag raising policy is thoughtful, inclusive, fair, and equitable. I said, my exact words, that we need to make sure that it is thoughtful, inclusive, fair, and equitable.
Okay. We can change that. It doesn't name you, but yes, okay, we can make that clear, and that sounds reasonable. Any other changes? All those in favor? Carried. Are there any written questions, notices of motion, or petitions from trustees? Trustee DeCrube.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Everybody can hear me. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my lateness, and might sound like a little shakiness. I was in a minor car accident on my way here, so.
On the way here?
Yeah.
You're all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little shaky. But I have a written question, and there it goes. In the past month, we've had 2 incidents involving weapons and youth in wards 9 and 10. So in Mississauga. So I would like staff, if they were able to give me some information about what schools do to raise awareness and how we educate students about the impact that this can have on their lives and the lives of other people.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if you'll hand that question in at some point, okay? Trustee K. McDonald.
I'm for the notice of motion. We're still on written questions?
Yes, we're on written questions and notices of motion and petitions.
Okay. So I have two notices of motion.
Okay.
So the first one reads, be it resolved that the HR department embark on a geographical hiring recruitment effort in downtown Brampton area to manage fill rate issues. Whereas hiring based on geographical areas, in brackets location, is not in contravention with the Human Rights Code. Whereas under the Education Act, kids are required to have 300 hours of instruction per week. Whereas many downtown Brampton schools have chronic low fill rates, with some schools regularly having 3 teachers vacancies per day, and in some cases 5 per day. Whereas many of these schools have students with special education supports and are in high socioeconomic risk index. Be it resolved that the Peel District School Board hire a dedicated emergency pool to staff these schools and have chronic issues with vacancies not being filled. Sorry, that have chronic issues with vacancies not being filled. Thank you.
Okay.
That's motion number 1. And motion number 2. Whereas the Peel District School Board strives to inspire success, confidence, and hope in all students. Whereas the We Rise Together, the Peel District School Board's action plan to support Black male students was created to identify, understand, minimize, and eliminate the marginalization experienced by Black male students in the Peel School Board. Whereas it is important for students to see themselves reflected in their learning environment and have high expectations set for them. Whereas several research reports and studies conducted by the Peel District School Board highlight the great negative impact some marginalized students perceive their learning environment to be. Be it resolved that the Peel District School Board embark on a targeted recruitment drive to hire racialized staff, specifically Black and Indigenous staff, so that teaching staff will better represent the diversity of the population we serve, or they serve. Thank you.
Thank you. So, and please would you hand those in to Director Joshua so that we can capture that accurately for our next meeting on the 19th. Thank you. Okay, so let's move, are there any, there are no others. Therefore, let's move on to section 6.1 as retirements, and it's here for receipt, moved by Trustee Cameron, seconded by Trustee DeKroob. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Trustee McDonald.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to the retirement of Joyce Lister at Centennial Senior Public School. Joyce is a very valuable member of the teaching staff there, and she is ending her career as a teacher librarian, and she was very focused in her library services to equity and inclusion for all students, and the Centennial Senior Public School community will truly miss her. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. 8, we'll move on to, our delegations. So 7.1 is a delegation from Mohammed Kadar. Yes, there you are, sir. And it's regarding the raising of the pride flag in Peel. So if you'd come forward, please, to the podium, to the microphone, it will be on.
Too much bureaucracy.
Pardon?
I said it's too much bureaucracy, because all tax dollars are going, you see?
Yeah, we're a hard-working board.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that it's kind of big for a school
I
board.
can't hear you, sir.
Put the microphone louder. It's not really open.
Okay.
Okay, okay, thanks. See, first of all, I'm just gonna introduce myself.
Yeah, if,
My-
if you would remove your hand from the mic, it's causing static.
All right.
So, it's much quieter and we can hear you better.
My name's Mohammed Kadir, and I represent my group. I'm the imam of my group, and I also represent Muslim community of Brampton and Mississauga. And before I talk about my delegation, I just want to give you background about how it came to be. First of all, I found out about the issue in the papers, and I contacted Joshua, and Joshua said we haven't put the press release on the website yet. So actually I kind of reminded him, he put the press release on the website. Then I contacted a few of the trustees. I contacted Crocker, I don't know if he remembers, and he said that he would get me a delegation, he would give me the information, because I didn't know about what delegation is.
That's what you're doing right now,
Yeah,
sir.
I understand. But I didn't know at the time, and he said that he would help me get the delegation. Unfortunately, he didn't get back to me, contacted another trustee, Mr. Singh, he sent it to me on his phone. I appreciate that. And also contacted a few others, those who represent my ward. Found out about who voted in favor of the pride flag being displayed on the school, and who voted and who abstained from the vote. Nobody voted against it, which is very, a sad tragedy. It's a very tragic thing that people who abstained from it, they actually wanted to vote against it, but for some reason didn't have the courage to vote against it. And those are some of those who represent my ward as well. So that's the background of how I am here. And I I contacted Mueller, and she said, send me the information for the delegation, send me the slide. I had a slide, which is not this slide. I had another slide which has this pride flag, and I have next to it the swastika, which represents racism, which represents hatred. And I said they're equal. If you're going to allow one flag, then you're opening the door, you're opening Pandora's box. But I believe it was you, McDougall, who said that that's not acceptable. We can't have that slide, which I found to be a bad decision, found to be a wrong-headed decision. That decision should not have been done. And people should be free to express their views without handicaps, you see. But anyways, we have this slide instead, which obviously she approved of. But I had another slide, and that was making the point much more better. And unfortunately, we have to settle for this slide. So that's the background, as I said. And just want to mention a few things. You see, the resolution that they passed about this flag is a destructive decision. It's very irresponsible. It's unprincipled. As I said, it's opened the Pandora's box. You see, there are so many other flags which are offensive. But if somebody comes to this board and says, we want to have that flag, we want to have the swastika flag, for example, then I don't understand why they will allow this flag but not allow that flag. That's something you got to think about. That's all the trustees got to think about that. It's particularly the ones who abstained. I know it's only maybe 2 or 3 that abstained from the vote, but they got to think about that there are going to come other groups of people, and they're going to say our flag as well. What are you going to say to them? It's not a principled decision. You see, so this is a very controversial flag, to say the least. It's a very controversial flag, to say the least. And you see, another issue is the public of Peel Region, they were not taking into confidence. Because it's a big decision, not a small decision, it's not a bureaucratic decision, it's not an administrative, it's a big decision what you guys voted for. It's a big resolution. And as I understand it, that, this is the first time I'm here to the board, but there have been several other delegations in this regard. Most of them have been against it. And you can see that this is only from those people who have the courage to speak up, or those people who know about the decision. But I could tell you that 90% of the people, either they're the silent majority, you could say, either they're not aware of this decision, or if they're aware of the decision, they don't have the courage to come here and speak up, unlike me. So that was not taken into consideration. And the other thing is this flag, if you actually research this flag, the history of this flag, who created this flag, what the different colors represent, you will find a lot of disturbing information. You will find, I'll just give you an example, the blue strip on the flag, actually, it represents witchcraft. That's what the creator, the different colors represent different things. The creator of the flag, back in the 1970s, I believe, he made the blue strip to represent witchcraft. And so if people knew more about this flag, people were educated about this flag, they may look at it in a different way. And this, if you know the history of this flag was a divisive flag from the very beginning. You see, the people who created this flag, they created this flag to represent anarchy and represent police, anti-police sentiment. That's also in the history of this flag. You should, don't take my word for it, study it yourself, and you'll understand that. And I also want to mention one more thing. Actually, I got a few more things to mention. I don't know how much time I have, but if you could tell me how much time.
You have about 4 minutes.
I won't be long, but I'll say this. You see, I don't know who exactly the group is that came to the board, to the trustees, or came to the board and said, this is the flag we want you to fly in the month of June. That group's history and that group's objectives, that's a political group. They have a political agenda, and they have fooled a lot of the GTA in the vicinity, different kind of school boards. I know the Toronto School Board and a few in Durham as well. Those school boards, they were also pressured. They were also made to feel that if you don't pass this resolution, there's going to be, some kind of idea people are going to have that you are homophobic or something like that. Just totally not true. But those are the type of tactics they use. Those to pressure trustees like you, and I know many of them want to dissent. I know many of them on this board, they want to dissent from the decision, but they don't have the courage to do it, or that's why they abstained, which is a big tragedy, as I said. The other thing is, why are they targeting certain school boards in the GTA? Why is there's so many hundreds of school boards across the country? There are school boards in, let's say, Sudbury, for example. They haven't passed this kind of resolution. Why have they come to the school boards that are in the GTA area, in the vicinity? Because, as I said, I represent Muslim community. Our community is more concentrated in this area. And there is a, you could say, a plan or a conspiracy to indoctrinate our children. They want to target our children in particular. And this is why they make these kind of resolutions. This is why they make these kind of proposals. So you got to think about that. And you see, what's the principle stand? The last thing I'm going to say, then I'll leave it to you. I know most of these people, they're not going to change their decision that they made. But what I really want to do is I want to address the people. But the way you set it up is, I'm looking at you. But I really want to address the people. I want to tell the people that this decision, it was made without your consent. It was made without your kind of input. It was a rushed decision as well. It was very hastily rushed. And you see, The principal thing is that there should be no flags on the school property, absolutely no flag of any kind. Maybe apart from the regulation, but there should actually be no kind of flag. That's what the school board should decide, and the students should be made feel comfortable. You see, you're telling me that certain students are going to feel uncomfortable if their particular flag that represents their particular group is not flown. I could say that there are dozens of different groups. Some of them are large, some of them actually represent a larger group. The flag that's going to be flown, their representation in the school is much smaller than our community, much smaller than our student body. But they're going to get their flag. If I put up a proposal, or from people from our community, we say, put the flag of Saudi Arabia, or any other Islamic flag. I guarantee you there will be no such resolution passed because of the fear of a media backlash, because of fear of many other things, which I'm sure you're aware of. But this flag was passed because socially acceptable among an elite class of people, not the common people. So I know that trustees are not going to, I don't know, maybe they might, from words I've said, and other people are going to come as well, talk about the issue. But I know if they don't reconsider this decision, we're still gonna make this a big controversy. And I know many other people. You see, right now it's the month of Ramadan. I'm fasting. That's why many other of our people of our community, maybe they didn't get the chance. And that's something else to think about. The month of June, they decided this for the month of June. They knowing that people in our community are fasting. And I also came all the way from Brampton. Plus I'm fasting. Shows you how much passion we have about this issue. It's sad that others of my community did not maybe come with many delegations as other people. But I could tell you that they are totally dissatisfied with this decision. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir, just wait one moment. Are there any questions of clarification? I see none. Did you hand in your notes from your presentation? Do we have those?
These are the notes I have, but I rarely looked at them. Everything I said is from the heart.
No, but in order for us to respond to you, it would be helpful.
I actually did send the notes to you and to Mueller as well.
We have them, Janice? Yes? Oh, yeah, point form, right? Yes, I remember. Yes, okay, fine. Good. So we will respond to your delegation at the next board meeting, which is the 19th of June. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to our next delegation, which is Paula Hylton, and that is regarding We Rise Together.
Hello, good night, Madam Chair.
Hello.
Trustees. I'm here tonight to do the delegation. I'm going to have my son be my spokesperson.
Testing? Okay. What do you see when you look at me? A thug? A drug dealer? A Negro? A criminal? Well, I'm just like any other person. I'm a young black student, proud of who I am and who I will be. I'm here with my parents from our community, and supported from our community as well. We're all proud of who we are and who we want to be. I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to stand up to your school system that is working to keep us down. The Peel education system promotes stereotypes of black people and hidden biases that exist in our Canadian culture. Imagine, I go to school to hear that I'm not going to make it in life. Do you guys imagine that? Why me? Why can't I get that same kind of speech that the teacher gave to a white kid 1 row across from me? Well done, Johnny. You're going to make it in life. You're such a good job. You're going to be a success. I wonder why the teacher cannot say that to me. Why can't I get the same praise as that other student? Why is the teacher telling me that I'm not going to make it in life? Where's my verbal praise? Where are the words of where are the words of encouragement? Where's the nurturing that the youth should receive from teachers? Why am I being forced to accept and live up to negative, self-fulfilling prophecies of all black people that will never, ever amount to anything? This is another example of wrongful misuse of power against a young black male in the Peel education system. Do you know how many dreams of black students that are crushed and killed by people hired by the board said to build them up? I guess it comes naturally when a white teacher is teaching a group of black students. Which leads me to my next point, the idea that we do not learn the same. I go to the exact same schools that you have sent your kids, your sons and daughters, to learn how to read and write, just like how you all have. And yet, I'm being forced to be put to do a test that will end up labeling me. It puts a label on me. It labels me as someone that doesn't learn the same way as you all do. If the teachers would just not focus on my label, they would understand that my challenge is not learning. No, my challenge is definitely not learning. My challenge is overcoming the systemic racism and hidden biases that exist among our educators. You know what? No. I have a question for all of you. Why is reading the book To Kill a Mockingbird okay? It teaches us students that it is okay to use the N-word, right? That's what it does. So why is it okay to be here? It goes even further to encourage different ways to hold us black people down. This does not promote anti-racist perspectives. It celebrates racism. The N-word is rooted by pain and classifies us as subhumans with this single novel. We should be reading literature that catches the eye of black students so that way they can relate to them. Stories created by people such as Lincoln Alexander, our first lieutenant governor, or Michael Tulloch, one of our first black Superior Court judges in Ontario. And there are many more stories. These are the lessons that I and my fellow students need to learn about every single day. Why doesn't We Rise teach these kind of lessons? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm actually really happy with We Rise. Congratulations, I'm happy about that. But my direct experience with We Rise is really disappointing. My parents don't understand it. They've tried to get information about We Rise, but nothing is available. There's no dedicated website for We Rise. There isn't even a hotline that a parent could call to get information about it, like how to join next year and how to get your kid involved, even if it's in the middle of the year. There's just nothing there. What really happens is the teachers call to say that there's an event, and they seek my consent or my parents for my consent to go. Going to these events affect my attendance record. My high school teachers mark me absent from being in class. But the thing is, I'm at school, I'm being a part of We Rise. My parents are upset. The school automated system calls to report that I have been away from school. But again, I am at school, I'm being a part of We Rise. We're just in a different room. It creates a system of confusion and lays a false claim of non-attendance, which will now be on my permanent school record. My parents now have to go and argue with the vice principals about me missing school. In the minds of my parents, and I'm pretty sure everybody else's parents, We Rise does not support an accurate reporting system. How is this right to you? Let me go a step further to show you how We Rise gives us false hope. On May 26, 2018, we were told that the We Rise would hold its first ever awards dinner. I was so happy and excited. Excited to see and hear what other schools have been doing for We Rise and how it helped them and how it bettered themselves. It sounded like an amazing night. But then the dinner was canceled. It was canceled without any explanation and no further talk about the awards dinner. This again shows me the dismissiveness that exists among the planners. I really wanted to go and hear the speeches about success. I wanted to hear other schools' experience and what they had done for We Rise, but it never ever happened. Why is this allowed? If there was a sporting awards dinner, it would have been rescheduled. There would have been an explanation as to why it was been canceled. But for the We Rise awards dinner, it wasn't there. Therefore, I and the rest of the Black youth are speaking up and want things to change. We want We Rise to do what it actually says in its title: We Rise Together. Changes we would like to see. Stop making us read learning material that portrays us in a negative context. It feeds into the stereotypes of Black men. Take To Kill a Mockingbird off your reading list. Our experience of that book is sad, it hurts, it leaves scars on us. It dehumanizes Black males. Secondly, stop giving us educators that negatively do not offer any positive comments to encourage us and to help reach our full potential. We want teachers and the school administrators to be truly accountable for the We Rise standards. Thirdly, give our parents and community members the correct and accurate information so that they can better be equipped to help us achieve our goals. Listen to them when they give you feedback, because it's them in we trust. And lastly, ask the trustees to really reconsider the We Rise project. Look at it from the eyes of a Black student who wanting to succeed and not fail. Because currently, what is being done doesn't affect any of us. After hearing my speech, I want you guys all to think, what do you look when you see at me? Thank you.
Thank you. If you could just wait one moment, I have a couple of trustees that have questions of clarification. So, Trustee DeKroop. Their turn. It's on now, I think. I see the
Hello?
light. Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming forward and for presenting your recommendations and sharing your ideas with us. So just so I'm getting a good, clear picture of what your concerns are about, you're concerned about the impact that we may or may not be having, right? So, essentially how well we're doing at We Rise.
You're concerned about I'm definitely concerned about the impact that it's going to leave on us and the future generations and all that kind of thing. So
Okay.
yeah, that's
Thank
another kind of thing.
We're concerned about the impact, but it's not making a positive impact.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
We want it to be positive.
Sure.
Okay. Trustee Green. You got to use. You got to use that one, I think.
Thank you for coming forward and the courage to come and speak to us this afternoon. But there was a number of points that you make that I personally are interested in, and just to have some clarification, because based on your presentation, I'm concerned. Because one of the things that you said you're disappointed because your mom tried to get information about We Rise, and there was no place that you could get that information. Is that at school, or where, just for my own knowledge and see, so the school are not providing any information in terms of the program?
The school doesn't provide enough information about We Rise.
Right.
For example, if I have a question about PIC, or I want to know about the IEP.
Right.
They have information available. It's right there at the fingertip, right?
Mm-hmm.
But through the school system, I'm told, I'll get you the information, but it never follows. They never follow up.
Okay,
I look on the internet, but there's not much there.
right.
I've looked if there was a phone number you could call. There's no phone number for me to call,
Okay,
right?
all right, okay. All right, so now, this one, I'm truly concerned about this because you said in your presentation that you were forced to accept, but I didn't hear clearly forced to accept what. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for me? What are they, and you said teachers are forcing you to accept something, and I think you said that you can learn differently. What are they forcing you to accept?
Is it okay if I can give an example?
Huh?
Is it okay if I can give an example?
Yes. Sure.
So I'm in the vocational program at Turner Fenton Secondary School,
Right.
vocational 2, and the responses by the teachers that they've given me is that I'm not going to make it in life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to make it whatsoever, no matter what I do,
Right.
no matter how hard I try.
Mhm.
I'm not going to make it in life.
Right.
So that right there is giving into the negative, self-fulfilling, like, things that, what's that? It's basically they're trying to break me down, and they're trying to build up, I don't know why, but they're trying to build up the negative roles that black people
Right.
tend to take after high school.
Okay.
So that's what I meant by forced
Right.
to accept.
And you feel because you're a young black man, you're not being treated fairly? Is that because you said in your presentation, you said if it was a different kid, you wouldn't be forced to accept certain things, so you feel you're not being treated fairly?
I feel like I'm not being treated fairly, yes.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so the other part that I just want you to clarify for me, you said there was a program, I think had to do with Rise, that you were so excited to go to because this was presented and then it was canceled and nobody told you why it was canceled?
Yes, the We Rise dinner that was supposed to happen on May 26, 2018.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, okay.
And I'd like to add that for that dinner, I did receive a phone call from the school letting me know that he was supposed to be attending.
Right.
And that he was to dress in formal attire.
Right.
Because it is an awards banquet.
Right.
After the banquet, I would be required to pick him up.
Okay. All right, and the school that you attend didn't say any reason why it was canceled or anything like that? No information at all?
They just said it's canceled.
Okay. So there was supposed to be some presentation. Did you receive anything at all?
What presentation?
Okay. Thanks for that information. I appreciate that. That helps a lot. Just want to say to you that I'm not going to ask you what school you attend to, but your trustee is supposed to be your advocate. So if there's issues that you have sometimes, try to reach out to your trustees. And, because we're supposed to advocate for you, and we're supposed to support you and help you to navigate the system so you can get whatever the tools that are available to you so you can rise and reach your full potential and reach your goal. That's just information. And if you want to talk further, I'm available to talk to you, okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't have any other trustees, but I do have a question as well with regard to your presentation, and it's just a clarification. You said you were forced to take a test.
Back when I was in middle.
What test was that?
Back in when I was in middle school.
When you were in middle school?
When I was in middle school.
And what test was that?
It was, I'm never going to forget it. It was a test, it's a simple reading test. It had pictures and then numbers. No, not numbers. They had pictures. And they would start off with 3-letter words. Then they would go up to 5-letter words. Then it would go up to 6-letter words, then 8-letter words. And then they would lead up to bigger words. And that was the test I was given. But back then I was the only black student in that class. So, and from my experience, I didn't get anybody, like nobody else, in that class, I was the only black student, and nobody else in that class didn't get that other test. It was like, nobody else got that test. And then I went to a different class, and it turns out that another black person got the exact same test. So, what I'm still wondering to this day is why is that I'm getting the test and nobody else is getting the test?
And does your mother know why?
We still don't know.
Nope.
Did you ask why?
Nope, because I really didn't know about the test.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we can clarify that as well. And that's fine. And the one other question I have is, have you been, are you forced to read To Kill a Mockingbird, or are you given choices?
He's not given choices. He's told that he has to read it. There is no substitution.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, all of those, I think, are, your presentation, Trustee Green, you've already spoken.
No, I don't got my, I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I'll just go, Kathy, you haven't spoken, have you? No. Trustee McDonald.
Thank you. Through your chair, I just have two questions, but Trustee Green actually asked one of them, which was, and I just want to reaffirm, you said that you were just told the event was canceled.
Correct.
And you have received no certificate, no...
I still don't know what or why it was canceled.
Okay. And the second thing is to piggyback on Chair McDougall's question with regards to the test.
Right.
So you got this test. I know it's a while back, but because I'm really interested to know like what exactly they were testing and how could you administer a test without parental consent? So I'm just wondering if after, if you could, I'm not sure who the trustees, but I guess you could find out from Trustee Green, or because I don't think you're allowed to be administered a test without the parental consent. So if you could, because I think we need to follow up on that. So I'd appreciate if you could stay behind after, so we can, or speak to the Associate Director Dowling, who would probably be able to better get some clarity.
Well, I think we can address that in our response. I do. I mean, it is troubling.
I would love to hear a response.
So that's why the delegation comes forward, and with every delegation, we respond in a timely way, and I believe we can respond at the next board meeting, which is the 19th. I know that we've taken notes. I don't know if you have notes of your presentation. I saw you kind of reading. And we would very much appreciate those notes so that we can accurately respond to a number of issues that you've raised and either further investigate them or give the answers such as why the student leadership convention or conference was canceled. I mean, those are the kind of things we want to provide answers for.
Should I give you my email after?
That would be great if you would give them over here, and then on the 19th, the board will receive a formal response. If you're here, certainly we would welcome you to come back. If not, if that's not possible, everybody's busy, we'll ensure that you are sent a response, a written response to your delegation.
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it very much. And when you ask who do I see a young man, a student who is particularly articulate, and it's concerning if you don't feel that this system has confidence in you, but you certainly have presented extremely well, very articulate, just a good student.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the notes, so the notes, Sorry, but I appreciate that. I mean, if you want copies of them back, we're happy to be able to do that for you too. Thank you. I'll just let them sort that out for a second. But 7.3 is Mr. Iliamati. I say that to myself all the time because names are a particular challenge for me. Mr. Iliamati is coming forward to talk to us about equity. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
practice. I practice.
Don't worry. I'll transcribe it for you.
It's okay.
Good evening, everyone. Today I just want to talk about issues around equity generally at the board through the eyes of parent engagement. So we know that in Ontario there is a parent engagement policy which depicts how valuable it is to involve parents in their children's education. And the policy also demonstrates how school boards should engage parents. But we, the parent group, feel that we haven't had such benefit. And when I say that, what we mean is that there's sort of a differential treatment in terms of how we have been responded to, in terms of how we've asked some questions and they haven't been asked, or even the way the engagement has been put forth. So we need to see that the board complies with the policy and in good faith. We do not need to read a denial of our experience when we get the responses, as has been the case up until now, because we've read some of the responses that have been issued recently. But we'd like the board to have, or to portray a good attempt at listening actively to what we've been saying and what we're saying now, without being defensive. We find that the board is a little bit, well, a whole lot defensive. And this is what Tony Pontius had to say when for instance, he was talking about We Rise. He said, you will not be defensive, you will be unflinching, and that you will involve the community as best as you can. And just having a nice, well-written issue of engagement on your website and the information you disseminate doesn't mean that you're actually doing that. And I think we find it a little bit offensive because that information is what gets you the awards, and you're getting awards on the backs of our pain. So we would appreciate that, if not the chair, the vice chair of the board, to work with trustees David Green and Catherine McDonald to make this happen, to have a clear process in place by September 2018. We've been asking for a transformational partnership with the board. Yet our experience is that the board acts as though we're whining and whinging about treatment of our children, and where the teachers deny racial profiling in spite of the evidence to the contrary. It's almost like we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. We're told, Colin just mentioned the issue around To Kill a Mockingbird, and then the board also informs us that you're going to be teaching To Kill a Mockingbird from an anti-black racism perspective, which is very, very interesting indeed. That in itself is anti-black racism unloaded. But I guess the reason why Trustee Green spent nearly 10 minutes in the last meeting expressing the pain and frustration at being called the N-word, it's not because of the history of that singular word, not because of the fact that it was used to lynch, or not because of the fact that people who were called by that name were chattel, and at the word that maintained the subhuman treatment of Africans in Canada at one point. So when our children are further dehumanized by reading the book in school, and Colin has told us and asked you to stop using the book stop reading the book, the board still finds that the book is educational and is a classic book. We don't know what, it's as though you're telling us that we don't know what they're talking about. It's a classic novel, and that's to be that. So when this weekend, over the weekend, or the past weekend, one of the board's teachers took photographs of our children without their consent and posted them on social media. And we tell you that that was one of the most egregious and protrusive and violating acts. Do you say that's a one-off? Because this is what we've been talking about. And that is one of your teachers who is showing the racism that actually operates within the school board. 4 weeks ago, the board informed us that Peel only hires the best. I guess that was evidence of your hiring practices and the best that you could actually get to hire. We will not have affirmative action for Black people, we're told by Madam Chair. And we ask ourselves, how do we get through to the board? Well, your own teacher provided Exhibit 1001, and it's on Instagram now. And that was from one of your own very best. And by the way, does the board think that we do not know about affirmative action for white teachers? Because what do you call Regulation 274? On the face of it, we're told it's to eradicate nepotism. But when you scratch the surface, you find out that it gives priority to seniority, first and foremost. And who are those who have seniority? They are the white teachers. So we're here to hold the board accountable. We will hold you accountable in the classrooms, in your offices, and at your board meetings. We'll also hold you accountable in the media, and particularly in social media, where you have degraded little Black children by one of the best teachers that you have hired. Therefore, we ask you to outline effectively, and not a rehash of what you've already done, which is not working, a process that the board will engage Black parents in the experiences of their children at the board, as the parent engagement policy states. We ask that the board outlines a call to action to the Ministry of Education that speaks to the need for a unit for Black and African Canadians at the Peel School Board. The board works with Carl James, a professor from York University, who can explain to you better than I can why this is necessary. None the least Colin's speech tonight and the Instagram post over the weekend. We ask why policies 48 and 51 are left on the shelf and parents are not informed or are not aware of them when they try to find the language to complain about discriminatory behavior, discriminatory treatment of Black children. In 2009, an education strategy was released by Ontario, for Ontario schools, and that was regarding cultural responsive pedagogy. A framework was also released in 2013, and one wonders why that wasn't the ground zero for Peel District School Board in terms of providing cultural responsive education. And how does To Kill a Mockingbird align with that strategy? We ask the board to advise us regarding this juxtaposition. We ask that the board answers all these questions specifically, because we pay taxes and we're not buying what you're selling. At the last meeting, Trustee Lawton gave a passionate speech about safety of children at school during the deliberation of flying the pride flag. She was emotional. Trustee Andrews also stated that if flying the flag helped just one student, it will be worth it. It was a powerful demonstration of commitment from two board members. So who's going to shed tears for those of our children abused over social media? Who is going to say, if it helps just one black student, let's do away with To Kill a Mockingbird? Which one of you? Which one of you powerful trustees would? I didn't think so. We ask that the board respond to these questions specifically. Madam Chair, on behalf of all the Parent Advisory, we wish you a happy retirement. 30 years of being, of providing support and your expertise to the board, and 20 years of being the chair is legendary. And yet we have one last request of you, that your swan song be about the black children at your board. That as the chair you bring about some decisive and defining change that they can all remember you by. Something to show that the Instagram post on your watch will not be the defining event at the end of your tenure. As the chair, so for those defenseless, beautiful little children and their bewildered and mostly confused, traumatized parents, we ask this of you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your request and your delegation and your commitment to children. I honestly, sincerely believe that all of us have that commitment for every single child in this board. And I've always felt that way. And if we aren't being successful, then we need to work harder at it. I do have a response with regard to the Instagram post, and I apologize to my colleagues. I was supposed to read it at the first of the agenda, but since you have asked or have brought the subject up, and it is, of course, a serious subject that we're all aware of, but since you have, I would like to respond to your concerns around that Instagram post and what this board feels about that and what we're going to do about that. So it simply says that over the weekend, we became aware of a racist post that was made by an occasional teacher on her personal Instagram account. Let me first say this is totally unacceptable and should never happen to anyone, let alone a child. The post is considered anti-black racism. It is distressing, and through the school superintendent of education, we are in the middle of the stages of investigation. In investigations like this, we must follow a process so that we do not jeopardize its integrity. The family of the student involved has been informed and is being supported by this board. I have been assured that the full investigation will be thorough and swift. In the interim, the teacher has been assigned to home with no access to any Peel vacancies. They also cannot contact any board, staff, or students. What this incident shows is that there is so much more work to do. But we already know that. Change will come, but it won't happen overnight. We know that changes like this are necessary, and they do take time. Some individuals are not bias aware, and for this reason, we need to act, and we need to act now. And I think that's what you're asking of us. As we head into the second year of We Rise Together action plan, you have this board's firm commitment that we are in this to make this all work for you. To identify, to understand, to minimize, to eliminate the marginalization of Black male students, and to implement a comprehensive strategy to support other students from marginalized communities, including our LGBTQ+ students, our Indigenous students, and students who live in poverty. Again, this is our commitment to this community. I realize that you are somewhat skeptical, but I absolutely commit on behalf of the trustees. We want to work with you. We want to support Black youth. We want success. And this board and their commitment, I honestly believe, although I won't probably be here to see the end results, but I honestly believe that we will reach those goals together.
Can I respond?
Sure.
So thank you very much for that well-written speech.
It was not just well-written, it was sincere.
Well, we've heard and we've read such words before. And at this point, those words don't mean anything to us until in such a time that the action of the board really speaks for itself.
I assure you that there will be action regarding this Instagram. Was more than unfortunate. It is totally unacceptable.
So what I was trying to say was it's not really about the Instagram post.
No, I realize
the
that.
Instagram post was just like what's happening in the South in terms of when the police brutality comes to light. People don't really believe you until they see photos. So we have to prove, as I said, beyond reasonable doubt around all other issues that our children go through in terms of differential treatment, racist homework, being called the N-words in school. And we're not believed. And so right now you have one of your best teachers splashing our kids over Instagram. Then you're swift in terms of action. So when we hear that change won't come until the end of the century, you know, this is an example that you can act, and you can act swiftly. So our children's rights, our children's human rights are not prerogatives for the board. We have those rights in the Charter of Freedom. We have those rights in the Ontario Human Rights Code. We need the board to recognize that and act swiftly.
Okay, and we'll respond to your delegation. This isn't an opportunity for a dialogue, and I respect that. So I will, but I'd love to have more conversation because I just believe that we respect all of that, and somehow we have to prove that too. I do have a couple of trustees who have questions of clarification. Trustee McDonald, Kay McDonald.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I wanted to actually first, before I ask my one question, you asked a question about who will say to do away with Kill a Mockingbird if it saves one student. So, but I had to wait my turn to speak. And I would say do away with Kill a Mockingbird if it saves one student. I also, I know he stepped out of the room at the moment, wanted to say, and I feel very strongly about his, in his absence, I will say, answer his question too. When he says, what do you see when you look in his face? I found that very emotional, but at the time, I again took off my buzzer, and protocol, I wouldn't be allowed to speak again, because when the chair was speaking, I took off my buzzer before I could say what I had to say, and I tend to do it in question period, but I'll do it now since you asked the question. So when I look at Colin's face, for me, I see my own kids. I look at every kid. When I go to my school, all the students, I call them son, daughter, So I just want him to know that I see a beautiful kid full of potential and a kid worthy of the best and to be nurtured and to be told and to made, and that he is special and he belongs. So I just wanted him to know that. And also, like all my colleagues around the table, when they saw that Instagram post, I think I can speak, I haven't spoken to all of them about it, but I think I can speak for all of them when I say they too were very shocked. And one of the first questions I asked was about the process. So it's very, as the director told us, that it's very important to maintain the integrity of the process, but rest assured that you have a lot of people around the table and who are committed to making sure that this is dealt with quickly. Because I know, left to me alone, I would go to the person basically and say, did you do it? They did it, you're fired. But that's not process. So we are going to follow the process that's outlined before us, and I want you to rest assured that there are other people that have vested interests to make sure that justice is done by that pure, innocent student. Thank you.
And I have indulged that, but can we try to stick to, I should have read that statement at the beginning of the meeting, so, but can we please stick to questions of clarification? Trustee Green?
Yes.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, thank you very much. I'm going to try to do that. Now, there's one question, Mr. Kola, you said is that there is not an effective process in place on how the board deal with our black parents. And that, just for clarification, you're asking the board, because for me, I'm a detailed person, to develop a process and how to deal with our black parents. Is that one of the asks, right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
How do you deal?
All right. The second one that I just want to be clear for myself is that you're asking in terms of the We Rise, you want to see a clear process in terms of the direction for next steps.
We want to see impact. We want to see small wins. The board is great on process and beautiful plans.
Right.
The board is not great on following through.
Okay. All right. Okay. So thank you very much for those and for those clarification. But needless to say, I want to tell you, there's champion at this table that you can count on that will hold people accountable. Thanks.
So I do. Oops. Trustee Lawton. You need that mic.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I did have difficulty hearing some of it.
Yeah.
So
We're having
I'm
a
just
little.
wondering if I could ask you, if you ask whether or not I would stand up for all children.
No, that's not what I said. I said that during the deliberation, you were for flying the pride flag.
Yeah.
That you were quite emotional, and you spoke quite eloquently about safety of the children in school. And what I meant by that was, we don't hear that about our children. And so I was just saying that it was, it was admirable that that happened, but we need people to realize that just because they're black doesn't mean that they're subhuman. And we need people to also feel for our children too, because we pay taxes as well.
Trustee Lawton, is that okay? All right, I don't have any other questions. Mr. Iliamati, do you have any notes from that presentation at all?
Yes.
Could we have them?
Yes, I think I've got some typos. I'll send them to Jack.
Oh, we'll be forgiving. We promise.
You won't mark me down?
No, we won't. No. I think we have a process. Okay, so we will respond to, there were a number of questions within that presentation. We will respond on the 19th. Okay, can we move on to section 8? And this, of course, is our responses to our delegations. And so, if we could begin, 8.1 is the response to the delegation of Carol Spears regarding the raising of the Pride flag. Trustee Andrews, you put that on the floor, please. Seconded by Trustee B. McDonald. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. 8.2 is the response to the delegation of Nicole Lunenberg regarding the raising of the Pride flag. It is here for receipt. Trustee Cameron, Trustee DeCrube, will you put that on the floor and second it? Any questions? All those in favor? 8.3 is a response to the delegation of Kitty and Casey Barron regarding the raising of the Pride flag. Trustee Singh, Trustee Williams, will you put that on the floor and second it? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. 8.4 is the response to the delegation of the Bakinski and Skipan family regarding the raising of the Pride flag. Trustee Lawton, Trustee McDonald, K. McDonald, will you put that on the floor and second it? You won't? It's just a response. The B will. B. McDonald will. All those in favor? Carried. Response to the delegation of Kim Bohelke, I think, regarding the Pride flag. Trustee Singh, Trustee Crocker, moved and seconded. Questions? All those in favor? Carried. 8.6 is the delegation by Janice Gordon regarding a school issue. Trustee Williams, Trustee B. McDonald, put that on the floor and second. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried. 8.7 is the delegation from Danita Burrows regarding the school issue. Trustee Cameron, Trustee Andrews, put it on the floor. Second, all those in favor? Carried. 8.8 is a delegation by Nicole Brooks regarding We Rise Together. Trustee DeCrube, Trustee K. McDonald, moved and seconded. All those in favor? Carried. Sorry, I was moving. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No difference. Oh, no.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. You were on a roll there. That was pretty good. Okay. I have some concerns.
Are we talking to 8.8, 8.9?
Yes, the response.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've heard from many of the delegations around impact, and I keep asking, is that what you're concerned about, impact? And what are we doing right now? I do appreciate the list of things that was provided. I think I asked for that last meeting. So I appreciate that, because that kind of gives me a sense of where we're at. But my concern is most of these things, or the statements, are all in the future tense. So when I read this, and I'm thinking this is our second year into We Rise Together, right? Second year? No?
This is first.
First year? Okay. It's not the first year. Since we started talking about We Rise Together, it's been a while.
Since we got the plan and since we put all of the pieces into place.
Okay. Anyway, so it says, now it's going to be offered. We're developing the curriculum. It will be shared. I was speaking to staff recently, and my question was, how are things going? And my understanding was that So what happened is we've trained, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've had these trainings here and we were part of that. We did the anti-oppression training, anti-racism training. But I understand that administrators did that training as well. Are the teachers being trained? Have any teachers been trained so far?
Okay, so I'd like to answer those questions as you ask them.
No, I just want to know, because that's part of my...
No, I'm going to ask Director Joshua
Oh,
to answer that question.
Yeah, that's what I want. Thank you.
Oh, you want this? My goodness. Okay, there you go.
So through the chair, we have had members of our central team, educators, teachers, et cetera, have had level of training. We have had some staff across the board had a level of training through their superintendency. Our next phase is to continue with that training at the teacher, educator, classroom level.
But we haven't done that yet. We haven't had, so in the...
Sorry, I will just ask Associate Director Graywall to just respond to the specifics around the groups that have been trained, because we have had some level of training at the educator level beyond administrators.
Okay, thank you. So again, through you, Chair. Accountability Year 1 plan was to train senior team, trustees, principals, vice principals, psychology staff, social work staff, all of our curriculum staff. So all of that has been completed. As we're looking at Year 2 of our action plan for next year, we are meeting with the We Rise Together Community Advisory Council next week. We have some thoughts on how we can move that training quicker into the classroom. One of the suggestions that we will be raising, and obviously looking for input from the community, will be to be using one of our professional learning days next year, where all staff in all schools will be trained. So that would include everyone from, obviously principals and vice principals, but teachers, ECEs, teaching assistants, and any other staff that I haven't mentioned in the school as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because I think that's really where we're going to make an impact. As much as I appreciate our administrators and our superintendents, and especially our trustees, we're not the ones that are standing in front of the kids every day. We're not the ones that really need to get it and understand it, and almost be required to get it and understand it. So I think that's where the real work is going to begin, and I appreciate that answer. So I personally would like to see this be our #1 priority in terms of our equity initiatives, because especially if we're going to be known as the leaders of equity around the province, then we have to roll up our sleeves and really get down to the real work and really make sure that we are making an impact. Especially since, as the report also says, we're putting a significant amount of dollars into this project. It's $420,000 to date. And we haven't even measured much impact. We haven't really measured any impact. So, all of that said, this is really important to me, because to me this is about ensuring equal access to post-secondary education, to employment in the future. It's really about changing people's lives. And I believe that it's our job in public education to level the playing field. So, all that said, if you may, Madam Chair, I have a little motion.
Well, can we?
It's arising. It's very little.
Yeah, I know, but we haven't even received this yet.
Oh, okay. You want to receive? So we receive it, and then I have a motion on it.
You can do that.
Okay, let's do that. Okay.
It's just I'd like to receive the. I'd like to finish receipt, and then I'll come back to you for that.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
All right. So I forget now. Getting old. Oh no, I know where I am. Did we move and second it? Yes, we did. Okay. So then we're on 8.8. All those in favor of receipt? Thank you. 8.9 is the response to the delegation of Mr. Iliamati regarding We Rise Together. Would you like to move that, Trustee DeCrube, and seconded by Trustee Singh? All those in favor? That is carried. So I will come back to you.
Thank you.
I don't really need to do this right now.
Is this
because
working?
all those mics are on, but go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So my motion is in regards to what we've heard from the community, and we've been hearing this for the past couple of weeks. And I keep asking every person that comes to delegate, you know, I understand that you're concerned about impact, and I'm asking that for a reason, because I'm concerned about impact. And I know it's not a magic formula. It's not, you know, we're not going to change the world tomorrow, and it's going to take some time.
You have to give us the motion. And
Okay,
then
and then I'll speak to it. Okay. So the motion reads, be it resolved that Peel District School Board staff present a report to the board in September to 2018 to provide an overview of ways we can measure impact of equity initiatives, including We Rise Together, moving forward.
No, she doesn't. Well, I mean, I can do that if... Okay, just a minute. I got that. Are there concerns of trustees around the board with regard to understanding the motion? Please, Trustee Green.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, I don't mind the motion, but the concern that I have with the motion is it is talk about equity, and equity is a broad topic, and because it's a broad topic, you know, I have some concern about it. When we're talking about impact, if the motion is going to focus on We Rise, I will support that motion, because to see impact, we have to be able to deal with individual project or individual item, so that when that report comes, it can be clear, so that we have a logistic model that demonstrate where we started, where we are, where we're going, what's the impact is.
Okay.
So therefore, I have some issue with that motion.
Okay. All right. Trustee Green. We aren't speaking to the motion yet.
Yep.
Okay. Trustee McDonald, you had your hand up, but it wasn't to speak to the motion. Was it a clarification of the motion?
No, it's not written, right? So
Yes, it is not written, so it is difficult.
Well, I'm open.
Can I ask, and I certainly have no right to move a deferral motion, but considering it's a pretty important motion, and I think we're all wanting to support moving forward on impact, et cetera, would you consider making it a notice?
I would consider.
Because you said September,
no,
so there's no hurry.
No, can I finish, please? I don't think we need to have a notice and go through. I'm open to making it more specific and talking specifically about We Rise. I don't think this motion is very complicated, Madam Chair.
But there are trustees that are asking for it to be printed, written, so they can see it. That is their privilege. That is their privilege, and so we can stop and have that done.
We can stop and have that done, but we can get this done today. Really, realistically, this is not a complicated issue.
Okay, I mean, you're the mover of the motion. I
Yeah.
was just suggesting a pathway to success. But understanding that, then we should have this motion written.
Is there a way to get it written right now?
Of course there is. If you have if you have it written,
I do.
Then I can pass it along to Ms. Mueller, and she will print it out. Yeah. We will come back to it.
Okay.
She can print it out, and then we can see it, and we can come back to it.
Sounds good.
Is that fair?
Sure, that sounds fair.
Trustee Ducru, if you don't mind, just a friendly, amendment to be specific and seeing that this is a round re-rise, then let's ask, because I would support a motion that asking for something to support re-rise.
Sure.
So be specific so that we can have that motion I will support, but a broad motion I can't support.
Okay.
Because that takes away from the whole work.
I
Takes
understand.
away from re-rise.
Thank you.
Well, it's just, I can't do it. Okay. Okay, so then Trustee DeCrube, you're going to hand that in. I'm going to ask that it be typed and copied, and trustees will then have it in front of them. Okay. It is 25 after 9. We're going to start budget. That could take us a little bit of time. It's not the time I'm worried about, but I'd like to call a 10-minute recess, please. Trustees to take their seats, please. Yeah, I'll try. So, we still have a whole meeting ahead of us, and a lot of staff who have done a lot of work with regard to the budget. So I want to be sure that we give it our due attention as well. So, there is a written motion before you. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Okay, wait a minute. We all have 3. Be it resolved, staff present a report. Okay, that's it. So, Trustee DeCrube, could you read the motion again, please?
Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me? I just would like to also ask for a recorded vote on this.
Okay.
Okay. So the motion reads, be it resolved that the Peel District School Board staff present a report to the board in September 2018 to provide an overview of tools through which we can measure the impact of the We Rise Together initiative going forward.
Okay.
Can I speak to it now?
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
I do.
Seconded by? Trustee Kay McDonald. All right, so the motion is on the floor, and you can speak to the motion.
Thank you. I just would like to make it very clear about what I feel my role here at the board is. I feel as a trustee, it is my responsibility to listen to the community and to take in all the input and take in all the considerations and then present ideas. Those ideas sometimes are in the form of a motion. It is up to other trustees to decide how they vote on every single motion. And that's why I believe that recorded votes are important, because the community, the electorate, has the right to know how every representative decides to represent them. So that said, I think this is really important. We have heard countless times over the past few weeks from community members, from delegations, about the fact that people are concerned about the impact that we are having. We have spent $420,000, and we still don't have any tool of measuring impact. We have allocated staff. We have even appointed an associate director of equity to oversee, who has been doing a phenomenal job, by the way, to oversee this process. And this initiative as well. And I understand from the report that came to us that we have had a coordinator already, but there may be another coordinator that's going to be added, or is that going to be the same person? There might be 2 people. So we're allocating staff to this project. We are allocating funding to this project, and we need to be absolutely sure that we are making an impact. Because if we're not, we need to change the direction in which we're going. We need to make sure that we are making a difference in children's lives. We need to ensure that that difference is meaningful. So that is the motion. It is live before you. And I hope that you can support it. I hope you'll find it in your hearts to support it.
Okay, and I'll come back to you to close debate. I'll come back to you to close debate. All right, so this is the motion that's before us. Speaking to the motion, Trustee B. McDonald.
So can we hear me? It sounds good. So before I comment, I'd just like to ask staff, I mean, you know, is this a doable thing for 2018 September? You won't mind?
Director Joshua.
So through the chair, we are going to be bringing the next iteration of our We Rise Together action plan, which will include the measurement tools of measurement of impact, our framework for short-term, long-term goals will all be coming to the advisory committee next Thursday. Sorry, and I'll just ask Associate Director Graywall to provide some additional details.
Thank you. So through you, Chair. So one of the pieces feedback that we've heard from the community is to have a logic model. And as part of the logic model, we will have short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals, and we'll need to look at how we're going to measure them. We have been doing some research, working with Dr. Carl James in our own research department this year, and over the summer we will be compiling all of that data together from focus groups with students, focus group with our administrators, work around our We Rise Together Year 1 schools. So we will have some data that will be available from Year 1, but understanding that we do need to look at specific measurement tools through a logic model that we'll be working alongside the community with at the next advisory to co-construct, at least putting that on the table, and then we'll need some time for co-construction with the community next year.
So what I'm hearing then is you're already doing what this motion is asking?
So again, through you, Chair.
Yep, sorry.
So I think we can always be more specific in terms of the way we collect the data. So more when you look at triangulated evidence, looking at product conversations, I think there is still some work to be done around that. And we need to be more explicit on how we're going to collect that data. Some of that data we will have to wait until our student census is complete so that we can take race-based data, in this case, how our Black students are achieving compared to the rest of the population. So those are other pieces of data that we'll be looking forward to analyzing.
But the way this motion reads, provide an overview of tools through how we can measure the impact, it kind of sounds like that's what you're bringing on Thursday to the committee.
So again, through you, Chair, next Thursday isn't the actual tools itself. It's to start talking about what are things that we want to include as part of the logic model. We don't actually have the specific tools at this point. What we will be asking the community to do is to say, do they want a logic model? What are types of activities that we might include as part of the logic model? And then next year start to work towards that.
Okay, so then if you're saying you don't have the tools, is September 2018 the appropriate time, especially for the student census, which is much later? Is that a doable time frame then?
So again, through you, Chair, it's doable in that we'll be able to provide the framework of the logic model, but the actual analysis itself and collecting the evidence, that obviously won't be available for September, and we will be able to bring an interim report on how the year 1 data we do have.
So, you know, so again, I'll just summarize what I'm hearing. You're already working on this in progress. You're working with the community, the We Rise community and committees and stuff to identify things. And I know you're shaking your head, but that's what I just heard, because I'm summarizing what I just heard, that you're working with it, figuring out what's going to be done, and then obviously you're going to create the analysis tools that based on the data. That's a good summary?
So again, through you, Chair, we haven't got all the tools established because based on whatever activities we've decided year 2 will include, So we have to first of all determine the year 2 activities. And we have to do that with the community advisory. So once those year 2 activities are determined, from there we'll need to say, okay, so based on these activities, what are some tools and strategies that we can do to collect data to measure impact?
Right, and it's not like tomorrow you can invent all this. It's a process that it has to be through what you've already started this process, which is long. So going back to my last question, I repeat again, September 2018, can you meet the words in this motion?
So again, through you, Chair, we could come back with ideas for tools and strategies. We won't have the data itself.
Ideas. So is that, do you need more time to come back with something? I'm asking you, because you know, if we pass this motion, you're going to work over the summer to meet this, and is it going to be a complete, or is it not going to be complete? And I'd want to give you the proper opportunity to present something to us.
Director Joshua.
Just wanted to emphasize, just in response, Trustee McDonald, if this motion is, if we're reading it correctly, for September 2018 to provide you a complete overview of all the tools that we're using to measure. We'll have a number of tools, but we'll continue to be working with the committee. So for September 2018, we will not have a complete overview. We'll have a framework. We'll have a number of tools that we can speak to, but the complete model won't be in place for September 2018. And we will have pieces of data, most definitely, measurements of what's happened in the first year, certainly through our work with Dr. James. But in terms of other things in measures of impact, some of that will include the results of the census.
I appreciate the staff, because I think it's very important setting expectations that this report will be partial and not provide everything. And that's very important, because people think it's this is it, and it'll all have it in writing. It's an ongoing process that we'll be developing, but it will be a start of a report that will be built on. So I'll just now, after clarifying those questions, and thank you very much for staff for helping me with that. You know, I heard earlier, you know, do you stand up? The whole reason we have We Rise is because every trustee here supported and stood up to support We Rise Together program. And so I don't know if I need to stand and show my vote on the same thing. That's why we have We Rise, but I support everything that we can to help all marginalized community, especially in the We Rise as well. So that goes without saying. Just wanted to put it out there. Thank you.
Number of speakers. Trustee Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair,
We're working on it. A little patience. Thank you.
So I have no problem actually supporting a motion. Here's what I have a problem with.
David, could you, I don't know that it's interfering or not, but can you turn off that one?
It's this one.
Donald and myself has been on the committee. Myself and Sharon Douglas, co-chair, so we have weekly dialogue and meeting with staff. We take our notes back from what we heard or what we're hearing from the committee and what the community would like to see. And we're working with staff to make sure that we are listening to the community. This is the community, it's our community, and it's our work. And I want to make sure it's get right, because I am going to champion this, and it has to be done, and it has to be done right. And I don't want nothing that's going to rush this and allow this work to fail. This work must go on. This work must be successful. Now, needless to say, yes, we will get a report. And one of the things that Sharon and I talked about last week when we met is that we want to hear from the committee about next step, here too. And those, what is reasonable, and what that model needs to look like. so that we are able to measure the impact. And using the data, not just antidote data, but using the real data that is collected, including the student census, to provide the community with a report, what we're doing, where we're going. To make sure that at the end of the day, our students have been successful. You know why? Because I got 5 kids, 5 black kids, yes, 4 girls, 1 boy that is still in grade 10, and is doing amazing at Mayfield. Why? Because I make sure that out of the school, that I put things in place and I stand up and I fight. I go into school, and when I go into school for my kids, I go in there as a parent, not as a trustee. But I'm here to champion this work, to make sure this work happen, because I know what I faced when I was in school, the challenge I face, and even today, the challenge I face sitting at this table. Asking for an overview, I believe, can be done, but I don't want to set up my community, and I don't want my community to be used as a guinea pig. I want my community, when a report is come, a full, wholesome report come, that my community can understand, and from A to B is illustrated and demonstrated, so they understand. So when they leave understanding clearly what is happening, what is taking place, and can ask those critical questions around the support, accountability, and impact for our student. So if this is just asking for an overview, I can support it. But in terms of asking for an in-depth report or so forth, I don't want to see that, because I'm not going to set up my community to give them hopes that I know that's not going to be possible for September. But for an overview, I can support it. And that is just my piece. Because this is our children. And I'm not going to play politics with our children's life. Our children deserve better. And I'm not going to play politics with their lives. Thank you.
Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can support the intent of this motion. However, I do believe that the time frame for this report, it's not possible, based on comments I'm hearing around the board, it's not possible for us to have a comprehensive report by September. But the intent of it, and basically my understanding is that the intent of this motion is already embedded in the board action plan. Am I correct? That would be to that.
So through the chair, the intent to work through and provide tools. We have the action plan. We're working through the tools that actually measure the right things that actually get to the impact. So that is work that we're engaged in, and that will be part of the report moving forward.
And the issue that this motion is intent to address, is it embedded in the board action plan?
He can't hear.
No, I'm saying that the issue that
you have to use the next mic.
Oh. No, the issue that this motion is intended to address, is it embedded in the board action plan?
So through you, Chair, I think we just need some clarification on what's meant by overview of tools. If we're talking about a comprehensive list of all the tools, that will not be in place for September. If we're talking about the concept of having tools as part of the plan, that is definitely in place for the fall, but it won't be a fulsome comprehensive list.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Trustee Williams, I will refer to the mover of the motion. And would you please address the fact that, is it your intent that the overview is not a complete list?
Is it on?
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair, I know what I'm asking for. I have been to graduate school. An overview is not a comprehensive report. If I was asking for a comprehensive report,
You don't have to use that tone. You just have to
I would've-
explain it to your colleagues.
I am explaining. If you read carefully, Director Joshua, it says an overview of tools through which we can measure the impact of the We Rise Together initiative. Nowhere does it say the word comprehensive. Nowhere does it say the word complete.
Okay.
It's an overview of tools. And I understand that everything is a process, but an overview of the tools is the first step in that process. And I would like that process to begin. I get that there may have been a report that's coming, which I understand is not the same thing as this anyway, to the advisory committee, but I and many other trustees are not on the advisory committee. I'm asking for a report to come to the board.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments with regard to the motion? I have no other. Oops, sorry. Oops. Trustee K. McDonald.
Thank you. Through the chair.
And please use no, not that mic, the portable mics, wireless mics.
Thank you. I just a couple comments that actually first before I even make my comment, I wanted to clarify that I have not had weekly meetings with Sharon Douglas and Trustee Green.
Co-chairs, not you.
Oh, okay. I thought you said okay. Okay, sorry. So as with all the reports that we receive at the board, I think the staff could list, if, for example, you say additional data is to come, it could be listed what is to come. I don't think that this report puts anything in jeopardy. I don't see this as playing politics. I see it as giving the community an update as to where we are in terms of measuring impact on such an important project. I think it's important that based on the comments I heard before too, I don't see a barrier to producing what is requested by this motion. I think if we have an initiative of this nature, it behooves me that after 1 year is completed, that we cannot provide an overview of tools to measure impact, because one would assume that a project of this nature, impact would have been on the radar of when you're putting out a plan of this nature. So I don't see the issue in asking, in asking for an overview of tools through which we can measure impact of We Rise. This is year 1 going into year 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lawton. Whoops. Trustee Lawton.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I have a great deal of difficulty with this motion. Given the importance of the We Rise Together initiative, my choice is not to rush the work that we're doing. I have an understanding of the work that we have done so far, and I have an understanding of what is to come. I have also a great deal of difficulty creating a false finish line of September 2018. As much as I want this work to go ahead, I want it to go ahead solidly and properly rather than rapidly. If we can do all three, that's great, but my choice is to not support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to the motion? Oh, you have to push your button, Trustee C. How long's it been?
No, okay, sorry about that.
All right, away we go.
All right, so my question is if the report goes to the advisory committee, does it come to the board for approval or no? I don't think,
So through the chair, what we were talking about happening next Thursday with the advisory committee is having that dialogue around what are the specific tools and
Okay.
approaches that we'll take.
Yeah.
So that information would all be part of our ongoing reports that would come to the board.
Okay. Is there one scheduled for the board? Do you know offhand? That's okay if you don't, just asking.
It's not offhand, but I can
Okay.
provide
that
that actual date.
Okay, that's okay. Just asking. It's just for the context of this motion. If this motion can ensure that something is guaranteed to come to the board starting in September when the school year is starting, just focusing on this motion, not the process of how it was brought up or nothing, then yeah, I will be supporting this motion.
Anyone else want to speak to this motion? Okay, so I know I'm in the chair, but I'd like to make a comment in that I want to support this motion because I think it is a step forward, but I'm worried. And I'm worried because I'm worried that the community who is involved in We Rise will find fault with the September report because it won't be complete. It won't, it'll be a start, but that's what this year was about as well. So it won't be complete. It won't meet the expectations because it's not fast enough. And you'll be back to criticize us for lip service. And so I will support the motion, but it is with great hesitation. And I guess the proof will be in September after the report comes forward. It's been made very clear that it will not be a complete list. It will not outline how we are going to create impacts, but it will be a start. And if everybody understands that, then I think we're making headway. But if it's going to just become something that once more will be criticized for, then I guess, as I said, we'll have to wait to see that, but I suspect that may be the topic of the day in September, but we'll see. So thank you for indulging me from the chair, and now I'll go to Trustee DeKroob, who will close debate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I say that I wholeheartedly welcome your support of the motion? Appreciate it very much. But I'm going to answer some of the concerns. Again, an overview of tools is not a comprehensive list. It's also not going to include all the data. It means this is how we're going to start. And we will get criticized because there will be people who won't like what we're doing. There will be people who will think, why aren't you including this other format of surveys, or why aren't you mailing them in, or whatever it is? Why aren't you, I mean, I think we should include data analytics and things like that, and we're waiting for the student census for all of that. But there will be criticism. But it's a process, like everything is. And it's something that we work on step by step together. And it's really the first place to start. Because you're not going to get to a point where you have a regular reporting process without first starting with an overview of the tools you're going to use in order to get there. That's just not going to happen, because you wouldn't have had any input from trustees, you wouldn't have had input from anybody. So everything is a step-by-step process, and I mean, honestly, I'd be a little confused if this motion didn't pass, but you know, stranger things have happened in the world. So I hope this passes, really. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, so recorded vote has been requested. So all those in favor of the motion, please stand. Those opposed? Nine two? Is that what you, yeah, so that's the complete board, so that motion passes. Okay, so we're going to move on to 9, which is our budget. I'm looking for my notes, which have eluded me once more. And no one can help me with that. So hang on just a minute. Let me see what I'm doing. Oh, maybe. Aha. I have them. Okay, so we're about to embark on our 2018-2019 budget. I know that significant work has gone into this budget. It's been a long process. I know that trustees themselves have spent hours looking at business cases that staff have spent hours developing. So I want to say that as we sit here tonight, late tonight, as a board to deliberate on this budget, I liken it to watching Prince Harry marry Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. I don't know how many watched that, but I actually did get up to see it a couple of weekends ago, but there's much less paparazzi because it's late, I suppose. When millions around the world watched the royal wedding, what they saw was a final product. Essentially, what came after months of preparation. For the royal family, much of the prep work was done by staff, individuals committed to ensuring that every detail is meticulously considered and planned for. Their efforts helped ready Harry and Meghan for their big day. For the board, this is our big day, or night, shall we say, a day when we approve crucial budget decisions that will help us to inspire success, confidence, and hope in each student. Our budget conversations did not start tonight, as I said, or even a few weeks ago when we had our preliminary budget presentation to the board. For months, and literally for months, staff and trustees have been diligently working towards tonight's budget meeting, starting with our community budget consultation process that began in March. We as trustees very much appreciate the amount of work that's gone into this. The budget we have before us tonight, and the last budget that we will approve this term as trustees, was prepared by staff under the leadership of Director Peter Joshua, Associate Directors Jespel Gill, Wendy Dowling, Pauline Graywall, Controller of Finance Tanya Alatache Charles, and senior finance team. And I want to, on behalf of the trustees, thank them for their diligence and guidance and partnership during this process. Again this year, we have had an efficient and collaborative budget process. This is a great point of pride and one that we all share. Like the team of the little royal wedding attendants trying to walk perfectly down the aisle behind Meghan, we too work together focusing on one main goal, student success. And sometimes it's hard not to stray outside the aisle. If we could, the board would fund every program and resource that supports student success. But we must stay within the parameters of our funding and that we receive from the Ministry of Education. Our budget process included a business case review that allowed the board to respond to new and emerging system and school priorities. The 2018-19 budget was developed through an extensive consultation process that included employee group leaders, principals and vice principals, the senior leadership team, and trustees. In addition to working with Peel staff to develop the budget, we also sought input from staff families, school council members, students, and community members. To gather input, we used an online survey and received close to 500 responses. What we heard from our community were repeated calls for increased funding for special education, mental health supports, technology, transportation, facilities upgrades, and professional development for staff. So tonight, I am very pleased to report that the budget before you includes enhancements in all these areas and more. But before I share the highlights with you, I would like to clarify that most of our $1.9 billion budget is allocated to operational costs, salaries and benefits, busing, classroom resources, technology, maintenance, utilities, and other day-to-day costs. $1.8 million from board reserves were needed to support one-time business cases in order to balance this budget. The following significant enhancements for our students will be approved. 1, steadfast in our commitment to achieving inclusion through continuous progress on equity, we will hire an equity and inclusion coordinator to support the board equity initiatives, including being the lead person for our We Rise Together action plan, which was created to identify, understand, minimize, and eliminate the marginalization experienced by Black male students in Peelschools. This individual will also support the board's anti-poverty initiatives and will work alongside existing equity staff to deliver a comprehensive strategy to support students from other marginalized communities, including students living in poverty and students who identify as Indigenous and LGBTQ+. But the majority of the work that this individual will be charged with is the We Rise Together project. We will still spend more than our allotted funding to support students with special education needs because these needs continue to grow. This is the case across the province, which tells me that the overall funding for special education is insufficient. Some of the funding will be used towards special education staffing. For the 5th consecutive year, we will increase the number of teaching assistants in our schools. We will add additional TA support for students with special education needs, including 26 new TA positions, the conversion of 44 long-term occasional TA positions to permanent, and the addition of 31 new LTO, long-term occasional TAs, to support fall transitions. In special education, we will also add a coordinating principal for TA allocation, 5 new PSSP, which is psychology, social work, speech-language pathologist positions, 5 new of those, 2 additional transition facilitators, an additional teacher for home instruction, an additional IT analyst to support special education equipment. Additional funding will be used towards staffing. We will add 6 resource teachers to support the board's We Welcome the World centers, an additional experimental learning coordinator, an additional instructional resource teacher for e-learning, 2 additional student success SHSM program support teachers, 2 additional staff to support employee wellness, human resources recruitment staff to help us attract and retain staff, an additional technology resource teacher, and an assistive technology coordinator. An additional secondary and elementary teachers will be hired to support enrollment increases, special education, and other emerging needs. $400,000 will be dedicated to support the creation of dynamic outdoor learning spaces for kindergarten. We came to the table focused on the projects in our plan for student success, bringing the voices of our community with us. Every decision we made, each item added to the budget, each taken away, all reflect the plan's 4 priority areas. Number 1, high expectations for achievement. Number 2, parent, community, and staff involvement. Number 3, equity and inclusion. And number 4, safe, positive, healthy climate and well-being. These are have truly guided our work, and our budget reflects these planned for student success priority areas and key projects. Our investments are intended to have the greatest positive impact on students possible. But we're not alone. We're not in this alone as trustees. Our budget decisions would be left on the boardroom floor if not for the outstanding contributions of our Peel staff and our volunteers. Every staff member, no matter what department or role, works to support schools and to support our mission to inspire success, confidence, and hope in each and every student. I am very pleased that we have remained throughout the years a board that is steadfast in its student focus, setting budget priorities that put students first, always. So I want to thank you to the trustees, to the senior staff, to the entire system, actually, that participates in the creation of this budget. I think it will serve students extremely well, and I want to thank you for your ongoing commitment to this focus. And now I will hand this over to Director Joshua for his report.
Thank you, and through the chair, great comments. I'll just add to them. So tonight I am pleased to present the 2018-19 proposed balanced budget totaling $1,916,102,065 for the Peel District School Board. This budget supports the board's unwavering commitment to student achievement and well-being initiatives identified in its strategic plan, the Plan for Student Success. Due to enrollment increases, employee contract commitments, and changes to grants, the board's total funding increased to $1.92 billion for 2018-19. Within the total funding, local priorities funding of $16.3 million has been allocated to the board to continue commitments made to additional staffing in 2017-18, as per the central labor agreements. Newly announced funding with the Grant for Student Needs relating to preparing students for success in high school has enabled the hiring of approximately 40 guidance counselors for grades 7 and 8 students. And in addition, the board is being asked to approve from reserves $1.8 million to support one-time business cases and $5 million for capital improvements. Our budget process includes a business case review that allows the board to respond to new and emerging system and school priorities. The 2018-19 budget was developed through an extensive consultation process that included employee group leaders, principals and vice principals, the senior leadership team, and trustees. The board also sought input from staff, parents and guardians, school council members, students, and community members through an online survey. Guided by our consultation processes, the 2018-19 budget supports ongoing and one-time enhancements that are outlined in the budget book. The board's student-focused budget for 2018-19 demonstrates fiscal responsibility by ensuring funds directly support the great work of staff to make a positive difference in the lives of Peel Board students. And I want to acknowledge, Madam Chair, the commitment and leadership of the senior team and trustees to develop this proposed budget. I also want to thank the staff from Finance Support Services for their diligence and expertise in creating this budget book. Thank you.
Thank you. So, if we may begin, Associate Director Gill, would you like to, are you introducing this to us? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and Director Joshua. Before I start with my presentation, I would also like to thank our finance staff for their outstanding work over the last 4 months in the development of this budget. For school boards, enrollment is a key driver for staffing, determining accommodation needs, and most of the ministry funding is based on student enrollment, normally referred to as average daily enrollment, or ADE. The graph shows that over the last 12 years, our board has experienced enrollment growth except in 2015-16 school year. The huge jump in enrollment in 2014-15 year is due to the fact that all full-day kindergarten students were included in ADE calculations as full-time students and were fully funded as part of the grants for student needs. For 2018-19 school year, enrollment projections indicate that the elementary panel will see growth of 644 students, and the secondary panel growth of 446 students. Overall, our system will see growth of 1,090 students, which represents a 0.7 rate of growth. Each year, ministry introduces changes to the funding it provides to school boards. Next year, overall provincial funding will increase by $600 million from $23.9 billion to $24.5 billion. Some of the specific changes include staffing funding will be aligned to the central negotiated collective agreements signed with various unions and federations. It includes 1.5% salary increase and 4% increase to funding for the provincial benefit trusts. In addition, the ministry will continue with the local priority funding for more staffing to support children in need and at-risk students. There will also be additional funding to reduce class size for full-day kindergarten and grades 4 to 8. For kindergarten, funding will be provided to reduce maximum class size to 29 students, and for grades 4 to 8, to reduce average class size to 23.84 students.
Yeah.
In addition, there will be funding for guidance teachers for preparing grades 7 and 8 students for success in high school. School boards will also be provided with additional funding to address current wait lists for special education assessments and to increase programs and services for students with special education needs. Ministry will also provide funding to hire mental health workers to support students in secondary schools through continued and expanded mental health awareness and education. Using the 2016 census data, additional funding will also be provided to support English language learners whose language spoken at home is not English. In addition, ministry will provide additional funding in some areas to keep up with costs. There will be a 4% increase to transportation grant, resulting in additional approximately $1.6 million for our board next year. There will be a 2% increase to the non-stop portion of the school operations allocation. Ministry will also continue with the implementation of multi-year changes it introduced in previous years. Benefit benchmarks will be further reduced due to the phase out of the retirement gratuities. Next year will be the final year of the 3-year phase-in of 2011 census and national household service data for Indigenous and language grants. Ministry will continue with the phase-in of campus definition for calculating the school foundation grant. In regards to capital investments, Ministry will continue to provide additional facilities renewal funding as part of the school condition improvement grant. Our board share next year will be $59.8 million. In addition, the board will also receive $21.2 million in school renewal allocation next year. As part of Ontario's climate change action plan, Ministry will provide another $100 million to school boards to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Our board will receive $6.6 million as part of this initiative. Madam Chair, based on the consultation with trustees, senior administration, and the input received from various unions, federations, school councils, and the public, staff has developed a proposed balanced budget. Next two slides highlight some of the enhancements included in the proposed budget. It includes 70 additional permanent teaching assistants, 26 new, and 44 converting existing LTOs to permanent, and 31 additional LTO teaching assistants to support students with special needs. A coordinating principle to support allocation of TAs for students with special needs. It includes an additional assistive technology resource teacher to support special program contained classes. Additional analyst to support special needs students with the use of technology and equipment. 5 additional mental health workers to support students with mental health concerns. Instructional resource teacher for e-learning to support students needing alternative environments and pathway programs. 2 additional teachers to support the ongoing implementation of the Student Success Specialist High School's major program. 6 additional resource teachers to support We Welcome the World centers. 42 additional guidance teachers to prepare students for success in high school. An equity and inclusion coordinator to support board's equity initiatives. A home instruction teacher to support students learning in alternative settings. $400,000 to create outdoor learning spaces for kindergarten students. Additional $250,000 for employee assistance program to support staff well-being. An additional HR staff to support recruitment and retention strategy of the board. Over $6 million to support increase in student transportation costs due to new service contracts, as well as some temporary transportation. $215,000 for absence coverage in single administrator schools. Additional $3.9 million to support increasing utilities and maintenance costs in the facilities area. 54 additional elementary and secondary teachers to support enrollment increases, special education, English as a second language, and other emerging needs. Madam Chair, our board, along with many other boards in the province, continues to experience a funding shortfall in the area of special education. Looking at the last 5 years, in 2014-15, the funding gap was approximately $9.8 million. And in 2018-19, the funding gap is projected to increase to approximately $11 million as the needs for special education students continue to grow. So if we look at our operating expenditures for next year, over 82% of the expenditures are related to staff salaries and benefit costs. 11.2% are related to non-staffing costs, 1.7% related to interest charges on long-term capital debt, and 4.4% related to amortization of our capital assets. Looking further into staffing costs, approximately 69% are related to teachers, 10% to teaching assistants and early childhood educators, 4.4% to principals and vice principals, 2.6% related to school office support staff, 2.9% to PSSP staff, 6.6% related to custodial and maintenance staff, 0.8% to continuing education staff, and 4.6% related to trustees, board administration directors, superintendents, and transportation staff. And then looking further into non-staffing costs, 2.5% of the costs are related to student transportation, 1.5% to facilities maintenance, another 1.8% related to school supplies, approximately 0.5% related to technology, 1.7% to utility costs, 0.6% related to administration, and 1.8% of the costs are related to school generated funds. So if we look at large urban boards and compare percentage of provincial enrollment to the percentage share of funding, Peel has one of the largest percentage gaps in the province. For 2018 school year, our projected enrollment will be 7.8% of provincial enrollment, and the estimated funding that we will receive will be 7.3%, resulting in a gap of 0.5%. And if we look at per pupil funding, our board will receive $10,030 next year. So this amount is more than per pupil amount for different Peel, York Region, and Halton boards, less than Thames Valley, and significantly less than per pupil amount for Ottawa, Carleton, and Toronto District School Boards. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, I said it. Seems pretty simple the way you put it, Associate Director Gill. But as we know, it's a very complicated process to try and service and support all of our students. So again, I thank you for that. Are there questions of Associate Director Gill with regard to his presentation or comments? Trustee Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I just want to take the time to really thank Associate Director Gill, Controller Latiche, the staff from the accounting department, even Associate Director Gill, Secretary, who make sure that we are on time, our agendas are planned and so forth. And as a trustee that sit on the budget committee for the last couple of years, and to see the amount of work that goes into putting this budget together, the many evenings and so forth, starting way back in February until now to bring this forward, I want to say thank you. And to everyone that the various different departments with their various different business case, the business case that was presented, All of the business case is supporting our students, and I believe that will create impact and help to improve our student learning. You know, every year I look and see our budget increase more and more, and at the same time we're still not getting our fair share in Peel. And yes, I recognize that we have had some success, but we could do with our fair share. And if we are having the impact that we're having as a board with not having our fair share, I could just imagine what could happen if we should have our fair share. And when I looked at even transportation this coming school year and the cost that is going to have, the impact it will have on this board, you know, it's just stunning that the ministry is not really funding us appropriately. So I just want to again take the time to say thank you to staff and everyone, and to my colleague trustee who sat with me in the committee, and to make sure that this budget, and Director Joshua, the associate directors who were all at the table to make today this balanced budget possible. Thank you very much. And we don't know what's going to happen because we have an election coming up in just a day or two. But I'm hoping that whichever government gets in power, that they will actually take a look and recognize the needs here in Peel, and hopefully support us, fund us accordingly, that we can continue creating impact for our students. So with that said, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I look forward to supporting the budget.
Thank you very much. It just highlights updated data. That's all I can say with regard to this board and moving forward. No matter what government is elected, it's all about updated data. It's that simple. So I hope that we'll continue to pursue that. Trustee B. McDonald.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone from the accounting and all the various union groups, senior men, Director Joshua. You know, this is an incredible budget. You know, I've been involved now with the board 15 years. We have a record of many more years than that of a balanced budget. We've had some tough years over this 15 years, but this year we've had some extra money, and I'm really happy. We had to make some tough decisions. If I'm roughly $20 million, we were able to increase the spending on and direct it to areas. And I'm very happy with where we went through, especially the long hours. I know we as trustees reviewed those business cases over 2 nights, and certainly those were well supported by the staff and great work there. But we had to make some tough choices, and certainly, you know, I'd love to have more TAs out in the system. I'd love to spend more money on mental health, which is a difficult subject for our students, and I'd certainly like to spend, you know, reduce that gap in spec ed and then provide that money in the system for spec ed, as well as other areas that we have to borrow from. Transportation, obviously, as Trustee Green said, is a challenge as well, but I'm very happy with this budget, and I cannot thank, you know, our staff that have done an amazing job to bring it forward and bring these numbers together in such short order. When I think it was April, we finally got the final numbers, and suddenly, boom, we have this huge budget, almost $2 billion. And I'm amazed how much money that is, but also at the same time amazed how much money that is not, because it goes quickly and it gets spread out. But anyway, thank you so much, and I look forward to supporting this budget.
Thank you. Trustee Lawton.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I think it's getting late because I wrote down I'd like to thank Associate Director Jaspal. So I would like to thank you, Jaspal. and the whole team, of course, for all their hard work and dedication to the children in our Peelschools. I'd also like to thank all our superintendents who worked with their central superintendents to present all those budget cases and promised us all those things if we put your business cases in our budget. I'm happy to see the continued support for our special education needs, but as I said during our deliberations, I'm disappointed we couldn't find our way to support the gifted position. Our gifted students are special education students who are not always seen as high needs. They are, and they deserve support. While the dedicated position was not supported, I hope that we can find additional ways within the department to more adequately serve these students. Thank you.
Thank you, and since you had the mic, would you consider a motion to move us past 11? To complete the agenda? Trustee, no. Trustee Andrews, will you second that motion? All those in favor?
I tried.
I appreciate it, thank you. Oh, here's more. Trustee Williams.
Keep forgetting. Thank you, Madam Chair. Without reiterating other trustees' comment, I also want to say thanks to administration for putting this budget together. And I also want to give credit to the government. I recall when I first came to this board 20 years ago, I think our budget was in the area of $600 million. It has increased threefold over the past 20 years. And money is always scarce, and we could always use more. And the need will always be there for more. But there's a limit as to how much money can be expended by the government for the various ministries. So tonight I am very pleased with the business cases that were presented to us, and I know that there are deep consideration given to those cases. And trustees and administration has done a great job in accommodating most or all of the business cases. So tonight I want to say thank you very much for your work on behalf of this board and the students that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee K. McDonald.
Thank you. Can I borrow you?
Sorry, you keep forgetting to it.
So, put it here. Through you, Chair, I just, without repeating the whole list of thank yous again, I'd just like to make a big thank you to everybody. But I would just like to, read on behalf of David Lang, who had delegated the board, and part of his email when he says he hopes that I may have the opportunity to remind the board members that the proposed active school travel facilitator position can be fully funded for the first year through the Active School Travel Fund administered by Green Communities Canada. Second round funding comes available this fall, and Peel Public Health could have acted as a lead applicant, but eligibility requires school board support as the key regional stakeholder. Given that this may be one of the opportunities, I think he meant a one-time opportunity, I would ask the board to consider endorsing the position, if only on the condition that the Peel Partnership application to Green Communities Canada is successful, and that the board risk is minimized, yet we still have the opportunity to move the proposal forward. And also, I would also like to echo the concerns of that Trustee Lawton raised, because I am also disappointed that the gifted facilitator was not approved by this board. And I think in the scheme of equity, we also have to look at kids that have exceptionalities that are different types of exceptionalities. And I also think that when you look at the poverty report that came to the board, it was shocking to see the lack of representation of gifted students in the lowest economic brackets. And I think as a board, we have a lot of work to do to help our gifted kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any comment or questions? Trustee Cameron.
Thank you.
Good. Man, a few words.
I'm reminded now why I shouldn't make school visits the next morning after budget.
Right.
I do want to say thank you. How do you do this? There are thousands and thousands of figures in here that you have detailed for us to consider, and I appreciate every minute that your staff have put into it. Thank you. By the way, the reason it's almost $2 billion is because of our growth in our area, in our board. 257 schools, over 156,000 children. Second largest board in the nation will get us that money. But it isn't enough, that's true. And if you look at the growth across the north end of, top end of Brampton and the south end of Caledon, we will see that the growth will continue for a number of years yet to come, where we will have increased needs for more schools and more teachers and more opportunities for children. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to raise one point, and it was within my my remarks, and I know that it was a bullet in the budget, but it was around the equity and inclusion coordinator, and I do want to make it known that the Board of Trustees discussed this position for some time. With regard to the role that they would play. And I want to remind the staff that the trustees would recommend that this person spend the majority of their time on the We Rise Together project as the point person, because we have heard from our schools and heard that they don't know who to call when they want advice or support. And so this is that person, and I think we agreed to that. And I just want to make it clear, because in the budget it just says equity and inclusion coordinator, but we would appreciate if most of that time or work was spent with the We Rise Together. But we also know that we have other needs, and so the flexibility is good. All righty. I can move on then to budget motions. And so, yep, indicate if you have one. And Trustee DeCroo. It should come on.
Now it's on. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. My budget motion is in regards to the urban priorities funding, and I just want to be transparent and say that I've worked with, this has been something that pretty much all the trustees have been talking about, and I've worked with staff on this as well, so I'm just trying not to take full credit. And it is before you, so you have it written, and this is what it says. Whereas the urban priorities funding has been decreased by $366,000, whereas the urban priorities funding serves to fund essential programs in areas with a high social risk index, whereas the Peel District School Board is committed to equity of opportunity and of access, whereas the Peel District School Board needs to lobby the ministry for increased urban priorities funding. Be it resolved that the Peel District School Board use uncommitted working fund reserve to top up the urban priorities funding to maintain programs for the 2018-2019 school year.
So you're suggesting, if I might clarify, and I know that you worked with the Associate Director, but so you're suggesting that uncommitted working fund reserve, out of that, you want us to use the $366,000
for this year until we have enough time to advocate for the funding to be topped up by the ministry.
Trustee K. McDonald. Okay, so the motion is on the floor.
Can I speak to it?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Again, this is an issue about equity, and if we are going to be the champions and leaders of equity, we can't risk the work that we are currently doing. We need to work with the ministry to advocate for this portion of the funding to be increased again. But in the meantime, we need to maintain the programs for this coming school year. I would say send a letter, but there's an election coming up in 2 days, and I do understand the process and respect it. So I will do that in a notice, and we'll time it for when the new government is in place. That would be a good idea, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking that if the motion is supported, once the new government is in place, maybe in the fall, as a way of introducing ourselves, we could invite the Minister of Education out, and we could highlight the great work that Urban Priorities is doing within our high schools.
Absolutely. I think that's great. But maybe we can even start with a letter. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
well, the letter would be of invitation now, wouldn't it?
Sure.
All
Okay.
right, okay.
All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that the board supports it. I think it's really important. And thank you.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and the motion is now on the floor. So if anyone wants to speak to that motion, indicate. Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be supporting the motion. I can attest to the work that's been done. One of my high school is supported by the urban funding, and the work that is being done at that school based on the fact that the fund is available is to be supported. And I'm sure that's not the only school. There are other high schools that are being supported through the urban fund, and the decrease in the funding will certainly have a negative impact on these schools. So I'll be supporting the budget. I think it's worthwhile.
Thank you. Any other comment with regard to the motion? It has been moved and seconded. I think we've pretty much exhausted everybody. So Trustee DeKroob, you can close debate. You just give them a minute. Yeah. No, it's not. That has nothing to do with it. It's just. It's Mark up there who's trying to sort it out.
I thought this had something to do with it. I've been pressing it all night.
Well, that just allows me to recognize you as a speaker.
Okay, so I mean, I think the motion speaks for itself. I think it's important to maintain this funding and maintain the programs until we figure out if and advocate for it to stay in place. And thank you.
Good. All right. Motion's on the floor. Everybody understands it. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Those opposed? What?
Recorded vote because it's money.
It's a budget motion. You're right. It does. You're right. It's money.
See, I know the process now.
Yeah, good for you. You are reading your bylaws. Okay, it is. So all those in favor of the motion, please stand. My mistake. All those opposed? So that's 10-1? Okay, the motion passes. And thanks for the reserves. All right, so we have one motion left. Trustee Cameron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe all of, am I on? Testing? There we go. Thank you. Madam Chair, I believe all trustees have a copy of the proposed budget motion in front of them. And it reads like this. Be it resolved that the total consolidated operating expense budget for 2018-2019 of $1,916,783,822 be approved, and that the total capital budget for 2018-2019 of $95,621,000 be approved, and that in order to balance the 2018-2019 operating budget, the transfer of $1,808,000 from the uncommitted working fund reserve and the transfer of $1,189,229 from board-approved capital reserves be approved, and that $5 million from the uncommitted working fund reserve be approved for facility improvements to support program needs. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have you got a seconder for that motion? Okay, Trustee Green's going to second that motion for us. Trustee DeCrube? Yes, just keep talking. It'll come on. No, you don't. Your microphone died, so that means that it only has so many.
Oh, I pressed it.
So many minutes for you to talk, and those are up.
I'm over time.
Yes.
So, question for you, just a clarification question. Wouldn't these numbers, wouldn't Trustee Cameron have to add up the $366,000 we just approved into these numbers?
Associate Director Gill. Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, that 366,000 is not included, but because the board has approved it, going forward, we will make sure it's included in the budget.
No.
No, it's separately approved.
Trustee K. McDonald.
Oh, sorry, that was my question.
Okay, great. Any other questions regarding that motion? Okay, so. Yes, so it's a budget motion, so all those in favor of the motion, please stand. Yeah, that's unanimous. Okay. Great. Thank you. All good work. Thank you very much. Thanks for the long evening as well. So let's move. 10.1 no, they aren't. 10.2, the recommendations of the Physical Planning and Building Committee of June 4th. You'll see that West Credit Secondary School has a regional skilled trades program boundary that was approved. And Jean Augustine and Fletcher's Meadow Secondary School, there's a boundary change there as well. And the rest is information for receipt. Trustee Green, you'd like to put that on the floor? Seconded by Trustee B. McDonald. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. 10.3 is the notice for appointment of trustees to the Flag Raising Operating Procedure Development Committee. I'll have to figure out that acronym, but I'm sure it's interesting. And so that will happen next week. Moved by Trustee Williams, seconded by Trustee K. McDonald. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. I lost my sheets. Give that back to, I keep losing sheets. Okay, all right, so are there any reports from, is there a report? No, no, I don't go there. Reports from trustee representatives on councils or associations. Don't you dare. Okay, next is comments and questions from board members. Trustee Crocker, Trustee K. McDonald, Trustee Williams. Is Trustee Singh still there? Oh, there he is. Trustee Green? No.
Oh, with the mic.
Right there.
Madam Chair, just briefly, I just wanted to, again, congratulate you on receiving that prestigious award on Saturday from the Ontario School Board Association. I think even your speech was well put out there, and it's good to see that one of our own can receive this prestigious award. And I wanted to also congratulate Trustee Williams, who was able to announce his retirement after many years of serving this board and the Ontario School Board Association, and passed the baton over to me, and I look forward to carry on the good work that he has done. So congratulations to both of you. Thank you.
And Trustee Williams will speak about his plans next board meeting, and we appreciate that, Trustee Williams. Thank you. Questions? Trustee McDonald. I'll move over here. Trustee DeCrube. No, you're out of time. Trustee Andrews. Trustee Lawton. Trustee Cameron. Any questions from the public? Seeing none, then we will, move adoption of the in-committee report. Adoption of the in-committee report. Trustee Crocker, seconded by Trustee Lawton. All those in favor? Carried. And adjournment. You gonna pay for it? How much? I asked. How much? $1. $2. Okay, moved by Trustee Cameron, seconded by Trustee Green. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks. Sorry for the late night, folks.